All right, here we go again. Everybody's favorite pastime, or at least my favorite pastime, answering viewer comments. So we're going to start with Deva Mahi. It says, OMG, Angelo, this is incredible. All caps. This is bomb. OMG, stop. Stopping being sucked into thought. Stopping the desperate urge to identity. Feels like stopping to be on the run. Exchanging that for being here, giving up identity, and giving up apparent knowing, staying in the unknown in space, consciousness. Oh my God, this is daunting and so real, almost spooky. And it affords strong will here not to follow that immensely strong pull, desperate urge to re-identify again, to being sucked in again. The pull feels like such an urge to be on the run, as if having to save my life at all costs. That's how strong that pull to re-identify feels. Angelo, I loved how you kept inviting us to experience it for ourselves. I kept pausing the video and discovering for myself before I continued to listen to you. This is amazing. There's a lot of all caps here. I think this person was really moved. Thank you for your invitation. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. I find it so incredible that you do all of this on top of a full-time job. Just mesmerizes me. Chapeau and depth of awe in gratitude. Well, I'm glad that that was such a powerful video for you. They're referring to, this one's called Changing This One Thing Leads to Freedom. So I don't remember even what I said in that video. It's kind of how it goes, unfortunately. But I'm glad that you found benefit in that. Yeah, it's funny. At some point, it really comes down to like a very binary thing. You either, because after awakening and after you've done some work and some shadow work and so forth, you know the difference between identifying and not identifying right now, right? For a while, it feels rather automatic, but you get this kind of clarity where it's like you really have to kind of consciously go unconscious. I know that's bizarre and it can like twist up the head, the mind, hearing that, but it's true. And at some point you just have to really see the cost is too high to re-identify with thought. So stay here. Stay here. Feel that unbinding. It's always happening, always happening. You can move from the experience of trying to bind into thought, into clinging, into grasping, into avoiding, like that feeling, right? It feels real. It feels like I have to do this. It feels like this is me. You can move from that to this experience where it just feels like constant letting go, like something's just unbinding. And then it moves into a different kind of clarity where it's like there's still a propensity to bind. There's still a propensity to grab onto a thought, to get it re-identified, but it gets easier and easier not to grab onto that. And it's really paradoxical because there's a momentum to it. So the more you identify without fully being conscious of the fact that you're kind of consciously identifying, I know it's all strange terminology here, but the more you do that, it really does build a momentum. It's like harder to break the spell. But when you start breaking the spell, then you realize it's actually not hard to sort of stay in the gap. It's not hard. It takes a certain kind of, like I wrote about in the book, it takes a certain kind of combination or fusion of alertness, maybe at first even a vigilance, and a kind of relaxation, alertness and relaxation. It feels like non-grasping. It feels like abiding here, but not turning it into anything. Not turning here into something. Not trying to make here a thing, even a concept, even a spiritual concept of presence. Like not even binding to that degree. It's just here, but it's also dropping, letting go. It feels like an ever flowing, ever evolving letting go. And as that clarifies, then the letting go, the experience of that starts to feel rather luminous, actually. The experience feels luminous, and then you start to investigate in a like the non-dual aspect, right? You'd start to investigate in a very direct way the nature of perception, mental formation, dualistic constructs, and so forth. And then it's a different kind of world. Like instead of instead of what it's not, instead of what life is not, which is not a self, not binding, non-clinging, non-aversion, non-desire. Instead of what it's not, it starts to be about, it's really a kind of affirmation. It's a full-on immersion into this like deeply mysterious but profoundly familiar, paradoxical, luminous, radiant reality. That you have 5 wide open portals to. Yeah. That's where this leads. So it can be rather effortful at first to not bind, but it does pay off, and to the point where it just requires a kind of commitment to the total spontaneity of reality. So again, paradox, but that's how this will go if you really do the work. Anyway, thank you for your comments. Moving on. This is from La Shamana. Love your company. Muji once said to me, the mind cannot get it. And wow, that hit home. Yeah, totally. Big relief. Still working on not paying attention to the noise. Yep, this is along the lines of the last comment as well. The mind cannot get it. You could even use that as a koan. What can the mind not grasp? What can the mind not fabricate? What can the mind not construct? Right? What does the mind have no domain over? Any of these can lead you to this truth. But you really just have to hear it, really hear it once. And maybe it has to come from the right person in the right moment. You have to be at the right level of desperation from trying to use all that illusory thought control to make life better, realizing it just fails again and again. But at some point it clicks. Okay, this is from John Doe. Longtime listener, hoping to get your attention at task a question. Even if we are not our thoughts, well, yeah, you're not your thoughts. That's the starting place, which I can clearly see. Good. Are we not still the pointing? What does that mean, the pointing? Even when our true nature is everything and nothing. Yeah, everything and nothing is your true nature, but the problem is, are you experiencing that right now, or did you hear that, right? I don't know. I don't know the answer, but it becomes a lot of these things are starting to become cliche, right? Like it's everything and nothing, or it's just this. All that's great if you're talking about it from the standpoint of true insight right now. But if you're not, then those aren't your words. Then you can fool yourself and think you've got it when you have another concept. It may be a more spiritual concept. It may be a more subtle concept, but it's still a concept, right? Not picking on you. I'm just saying be wary of that. Okay. Our lived experience is particular experience. Okay, how can that be without pointing? How can anybody's experience be different than anyone else's? I haven't seen this point being made, and I feel like it's a blind spot in many non-duality talks. To me, this sounds rather philosophical, though, to be honest. So maybe the blind spot is in your reasoning, or the blind spot is in wanting to understand this. Like you're still trying to understand it, it sounds like. I'll go back through it. It says, even when our true nature is everything and nothing, okay, again, are you turning that into a concept? And if you are, then it says, our lived experience is a particular experience. Is it? Like, is this experience right there, is that experience everything and nothing? Is it a particular experience? Is it a universal experience? No, those are concepts. It's none of that. It's actually this, right? Do you see what I'm saying? So beware of the philosophical mind, because a lot of times we think we let go of mundane concepts, but we don't let go of philosophical concepts or spiritual concepts, right? Yeah. You're trying also in a more direct way. You're trying to understand the universal. You're using an understanding of the universal, but you're looking at it from the direct experience of the personal. You have to break the spell of that direct experience, seemingly direct experience, not quite direct, of the personal. You have to break that spell, and then this question will be gone. It will just obliterate. It won't make any sense anymore. You'll see the error of the question itself. But I do know what you're asking. Good question. Okay, this is from Aaron Showers. I had a deep awakening while talking to my mother in the hospital because of my father's illness. He has a terminal illness, and I had a deep awakening and seeing the visual experience that it wasn't real. Yeah. Yeah, these moments of tragedy, these moments of, maybe it's not a tragedies per se, but these moments where we have to face the inevitability of death, right? That's the big inevitability of that we don't want to face a lot of the time, right? And the fact that we don't have control the way we think we do. But when you're facing those and you're feeling that experience in the body, like in the bone marrow, like you can't avoid that. You can't think your way out of that anymore. That's a really good opportunity. It's a ripe opportunity for awakening, for inquiry. Now, sometimes it just happens. There's a shift. You didn't even expect it. But sometimes you've been inquiring, you've been doing the spiritual thing, you've been playing the spiritual game for a while, not realizing you haven't been taking it quite as seriously as you could be until you're nose to nose with death. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, now you get it. It drops in very deep. All that inquiry pays off, and you have an ability to inquire in a very direct way now. It may take one question, right? So these are ripe opportunities for inquiry, for contemplation, for investigation. Anytime there's a major disruption in life. And I'm not saying this is easy. These are very difficult times often, but that's what that's about. Yep. Okay, someone else here said, Carol FA11111 says, feels like the non-dual awakening process is happening very, very slowly for me. First, I had a spiritual awakening many years ago, and old habits and beliefs slowly left me naturally. That's good. Then I discovered non-duality about 5 years ago. First, the message felt revolting, but appealing at the same time. I was going through the end of what I still feel was a soul connection with someone and couldn't stop thinking about that person. Again, these are ripe opportunities. We can have an awakening. We can really wake up to a sort of spiritual life in a lot of ways, but the deeper, very human fixations are still sticking around, and they're the things we don't want to face. Like being attached to somebody. I don't know the rest of the story, but being attached to somebody who suddenly they're not attached to you anymore, or it ends for some reason or whatever. These are very difficult to go through, but this is how life is. Life is smart. It's ingenious. It will show you what you need to see. It will make you feel the last thing you wanted to feel, because what we do is we negotiate. Even after awakening, we can negotiate. We can go, well, I'm good with all the universal, experience of self and the dissolution and letting go and the mystery. Like, I'm great with all of that. But I don't want to let go of this one thing. I'll just keep that in the back. I won't even really look at that, right? Well, that's where you're going, right? When you really start facing the deeper truth of realization, it will show you everything, and it will be uncomfortable a lot of times. Not always, but so this is not surprising to me at all. Then it says, now I'm back to listening to these videos and notice that the message no longer scares me and actually resonates deeply. Awesome. Yeah, maybe the message of impermanence, right? Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful message. I often have glimpses of everything being the same and nothing at the same time. Often when I talk to people, now that's a true experience, you can tell by the description. Often when I talk to people about me and my life, I feel like I'm telling them a made-up story. Well, yeah, you kind of are, right? It's funny, isn't it? Spiritual. If you want to look into this, like anyone who's listening, if you want to look into the whole thing about story, like a lot of times we just kind of discount the storyline and the narratives and all that. And, I don't mean to be, I don't want to invalidate anyone's experience. I don't mean to be callous, but they are stories. And it's not that hard to really look into this if you just want to be honest with yourself. Look at your relationship with someone you know, friend, partner. Partner's really close. That might be hard, but, just someone a family member. And think about the nature of that relationship. Think about how that person probably views you and how you view that person. They're probably a little different, right? Now think of a third person who's maybe another family member. How do they view that person? How do they view you? How do they view your interaction with this other person, right? Every single person has their own little view of things. And what's interesting, you'll notice, is there's these like clusters of people that will cling together because they have certain views that fit the right way. Sometimes they agree on views, and sometimes they have polarizing views that fit together like a magnet. But we conglomerate into these ways of seeing reality, into these ways of seeing ourselves and the world that conveniently fit together. But the only thing that makes them fit, what makes them fit together, really, is that we can get into a shared complicity, that we can lie to each other in a way that we can all believe. But we all know it's happening, right? We all can feel a little bit of that inauthenticity. And the more you wake up, the more obvious inauthenticity will feel, the more uncomfortable it will feel, the more you'll just feel it directly in your body. Something's off here, whether it's you or anyone else, you'll know it. And that's how this goes, right? So yeah, we do let go of those narratives, but it turns out fine, actually, when it's all when those narratives are let go of. You don't feel like you really let go of anything because it was all an illusion. What you feel like is you've inherited direct experience. You've inherited direct experience of life, which is beautiful, right? And varied. And it does have that experience of universality. I wouldn't say like everything is one. You don't walk around thinking or experiencing that, but there's this sense of any contact is the entirety of contact. Dogen talks about the term he uses is maximum exertion or total exertion, and means that the universe is totally exerting, the cosmos is totally exerting itself to bring forth this, right? Whether it's a breath, the sensation, the sound, the bird, the blue sky, even an emotion, right? It has that deep knowing that one experience is all experience. It is the entirety of experience. So there is that quality. And then you kind of lose the whole interest in the whole relational storytelling thing, because that always leads to a sense of FOMO, right? Relational storytelling, you're always a separate one in that story. You're always apart to some degree, even from the person that you think you're the closest to. When you stop telling the stories, it's just a whole different quality of intimacy with everything. Yeah. Intimacy with the 10,000 things. All right, cool. Good question. Someone asks, this is George San. Not sure if I'm even pronouncing that right. Hey, can I ask you a question? Oh, you already did. Too late. Okay. Do emotions have any other component than a feeling in the body and the narrative aspect? Well, first of all, don't take my word for it. If anyone's curious about this, look and find out. Even this person, like, I'm going to give you an answer, but go in and look and see, is there anything besides a narrative? And by narrative here, I mean narrative, storyline, history, perception, label, right? Anything you could put in words about what's happening, this emotion or this experience, or what caused the emotion, or what I'm tended to do about the emotion. So that's the narrative. And there's definitely sensation, right? Is there anything else? Well, look and see. Keep looking until the question is exhausted. And I think you can exhaust this question. Yeah, I'm not going to give an answer. Just look. The question will exhaust itself, and that will show you something very important. Okay. This is from Foxden Ham. This is The Specter of Doubt was the video they're referring to here. Okay, it says, thanks, bud. At this particular stage in my life, I find that doubt is a great tool, one which helps me recognize the myriad of things which are only belief and not instantiated experience. And there are many. True. Doubt shows me what is false or partial. Okay, this is one of those things I like to talk about, where a difference in definition can really cause miscommunication. So what you're talking about here isn't what I'm calling doubt. What you're talking about here is what I'm calling insight. That's it. Yeah. How little I have to be certain of in order to move forward in life, and is the thing that gradually cleans away any mental and emotional detritus, or chips away at the barnacles of ego. Yeah, that's great. It's beautiful. That's what I call insight, direct insight into the nature of reality. But you can call it doubt. It's fine. Zen has a term, great doubt, and that's interpreted a couple different ways as well from what I've read, but also very different. It doesn't sound like the common connotation of doubt. When I talk about doubt, I'm often talking about the common connotation, like, oh yeah, I don't know if this is going to work for me, right? That's a thought. It's a thought. But what this person's talking about is definitely insight, clear insight. That's great. I just would use a different term. I'm not saying his term's wrong and mine's right, or vice versa. I'm just saying it's important to clarify terms when you're talking about something this subtle, or else you could think you're talking about the same thing. You're talking about totally different things, right? So, yeah. Very cool. I'm happy for you. All right. Sasha's mom. Hi, Sasha's mom. I hope Sasha's doing well. Thank you, Angelo. It's so strange to know this, but not be aware that experience is already here. Oh, this says, okay, it's so strange to know this, but not be aware that the experience is already here. This statement doesn't make sense. Never mind. Thank you. I know what you're saying. I think I do. Putting the cart before the horse, spiritual speaking, is what is the video they're talking about. So I think what you're saying here is, this is a challenge I sometimes give people, and it's like when you start listening to these videos, right, or anyone's sort of pointing non-dual, you read The Power of Now or something, and you feel something like your instinct says there's something here, right? That happens, and your mind says, I don't know what the hell this is talking about. It makes no sense whatsoever. Like I'm totally at a fucking loss, right? That's what the mind will say. It's like, I don't get this at all. Makes no sense. And yet you just keep watching it. Why do I keep watching these videos? Like people say this, right? Why do I keep watching these videos? I've read your whole book. I didn't get most of it. I started reading it again and it makes sense now, right? But I drop this challenge sometimes. It's like when you find that there's something here, I trust it, and yet I don't know what you're talking about intellectually. Ask yourself why. What is it that could be here that's just not about understanding? What is it that could be here that's not about intellect? And of course, you'll initially try to answer that with the intellect, and you'll be like, oh, damn, that's not right either. But keep asking the question, what is it that's here? Maybe that's so obvious that the mind can't get a hold of it, but just what is it that's here that I actually have some sense about, that there's a truth here, and I know my mind can't get a hold of it. The mind just can't do anything with it. I can see that happening, but what is it? What is it? That's the juicy question. That's a really powerful inquiry. You could also ask, who is it that's experiencing this? But that's not always interesting to people, not always juicy. So find something juicy, like, wherever that question points. Doesn't have to make sense. Don't worry about this not making sense. Concern yourself with getting past the barrier of the mind, again, doubt, that says, no. If you don't understand it, it's not valuable. If you don't understand it, there's nothing there. Those are thoughts, man. Get past the thoughts and find out what's really here. And sometimes you have to chip away at it a little bit for a while. That's totally normal. Totally normal. Chip. You'll feel like you're getting nowhere, and all of a sudden a big chunk of granite will fall off, and then what the statue that was buried within the block of granite will suddenly reveal itself, or whatever. Just to use a goofy analogy. Thanks for a comment. Okay, someone says, what video is this from? They're talking about a short here. The shorts are almost always from a video with the same name. So if you go to my channel and search by that short name, you can find it. Sorry to make you do that, because the workflow makes it very difficult for me to do that right now, at least the way they have it set up. Someone says, just commenting on this, the Headless Way interview, said, love Richard and Douglas, of course. Headless Way community and pointing and the community. This is Johnny Little. So they love the Headless Way, and it's very cool. It's one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. Check it out if you haven't seen it. All right. Looking for more questions here. Okay, this comes from The Way of No Way. Ooh, I like that name. Thank you, Angela. Body sensation is an endless fascination here. Yeah, you're in a good place when you get to that space where physical sensation is an endless fascination. Not thinking about physical sensation, not intellectualizing it, not analyzing it, not getting lost in your head about whatever philosophical approaches or even therapeutic internal discussions about it. But I mean the actual sensation. And it becomes fascinating. It does become rather fascinating. Watching the mind morph to create the body map. It's so damn slippery. Yeah. So again, once you're there and you're just seeing how that body map gets sort of Velcroed on, that's good if you can see it. And it can be slippery and it can be tenacious for a while. But just keep at it, relax, keep alert, be precise in what you're actually experiencing, and it will clarify more and more. And it is fascinating. It's almost so fascinating you could just do it for the rest of your life, easily. I've heard you use the term undifferentiated so many times, but today, suddenly, it was truly felt. Beautiful. Awesome. The undifferentiated, the unborn, the undying. Again, this goes back to what we were talking about a minute ago. This is from You Are What You Are Looking For. That's their username. Outstanding. It's baffling because something somewhere understands every bit of this, and equally at the same time, there's tremendous confusion, and I don't understand any of it. It's a mind fuck for sure. I'm both drowning, feeling as if I'm never going to get this, and nothing at all is actually happening. Okay, you're in a really good place. That's how people start talking a lot of times right before they wake up, before they have a true shift. Maybe you already did, I don't know. But yeah, that's a good place to be. I would say give yourself to that mystery. Just drop every single label, no matter how subtle those labels, let them drop. No matter how subtle they are, that self-reflection that's trying to monitor how you're doing, trying to monitor what's happening and take snapshots, just let it drop, let it drop, let it drop. Give yourself fully to this mystery. Like, just let it completely kill you. Let it just take you away. It's safe. Won't feel safe, but it's safe. That's where you want to go anyway. Awesome. Okay, thanks all. Appreciate your comments, questions. Keep them coming.